have some questions lined up for our panelists, and then we're gonna have time for Q&A at the end. We know we could have an entire symposium with each of these panelists alone for days, right? So we know that maybe at the end, we won't be able to cover absolutely everything that you want to, but the good thing is that all of these folks are here in the Valley, right? And so you can always reach out to them. You can always go to their events, connect with them individually. So we hope that today is just like the start of a conversation. And my name is Dani. I'm going to be moderating the panel today. And the reason we wanted to have this panel was because, one, we know that the Rio Grande Valley's identity is constantly shifting, constantly changing, but also there's people of different races and ethnicities have always been here in the Valley, right? So there are some things that are new, but some things that have always been here. And we also wanted to have this panel because there's a lot of people, right, that don't want us to talk about culture and identity and talk about who we are and be proud of ourselves, proud of our culture, part of our community. And so we wanted to create this space and say, if there was ever a time for us to talk about who we are, it's now, right? That being said, we are a nonpartisan organization. We're not a political organization, and so today's panel will be nonpartisan. And so during the Q&A, right, any questions that you all have, just try your best to stay within those lines, right? And all these folks live here. You can always connect with them afterwards. And so to start off, I'm gonna allow each panelist to briefly introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tony Innouvong. I am the owner of this space. Thank you for being here today. I also do a bunch of cool things in the community. I think they're cool, including the RGV Asian Night Market, among other things. I'm a transplant here in the Valley by way of Seattle, Washington. My wife is a Valley native, born and raised in Edinburgh, Texas. So now I have the fortunate opportunity to live here and share my culture and absorb the Valley as much as I can.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for coming. And Fatima, Dina, thank you so much for extending the invitation to us to come and speak uh, to the Valley folks and share what we do and what our organizations are all about. My name is Kirti Singh. I'm president of India Association of Rio Grande Valley. And our association has been in existence over 25 years. We have so many various different functions. If you go on our website, it's iargv.org. Every function we have is in each of the different various cities. We just recently did the Festival of Colors, Holi. I don't know if you heard about it, but that was done in FAR in conjunction with the city itself. So we had about 800 people attendees who attended the event, which was fantastic. We've got a few other functions happening soon. We are looking to do one in June where we recognize women who have done something. There are so many women who have done so many nice things in the valleys, but we can only recognize a few. So we try and do that every year. We started that last year. Then we've got our function in August, which is Independence Day, which is Independence Day of India, but in conjunction, we celebrate that in Edinburgh itself. And then we have Diwali, Festival of Lights. That's in October, November, depending on when the festival falls. This year, it happens to be in the middle of October. We do that in McAllen Convention Center area. So you can see we try and cover each of the different cities, and our women's celebration is in Mission. And then another big event is cricket. I don't know if you know what cricket is. It's similar to baseball, I say, you know. It's almost like a 4-week-long sports that we do, and we have about 6 teams that participate. And we do that at the cricket ground is in FAR. So the city of FAR, in conjunction with them, we do that because it's very difficult to have a cricket ground, and they were so gracious enough to do that for us and work with us, you know. So these are the various events. I'm sharing this. However, please, our organization is open to all. You know, You can become annual members or lifelong members, but regardless, please go check it out. Come to our events. The more, the merrier. We have had so much diverse crowd, and idea is to assimilate each other's and appreciate each other's cultures and diversity that we are part of this beautiful, beautiful land. Thank you so much.
So if you haven't been to a good Holy Fest, it's the best way to usher in a new beginning and spring. So I strongly suggest that you get involved with that. But my name is Sabrina Hernandez. Thank you guys for being here this morning. I'm representing Village in the Valley, affectionately known as Viva. And our mission is elevating and uniting the Black community while connecting other cultures in the Rio Grande Valley. So here is the misnomer. People think that Black people, so I got here in 1992. This is what I tell people. And by way of the military, I met my husband there in the military, and he said, his exact words to me was, there is no Black people. And I said, but it's the South, because all I heard was South Texas. And I was like, it's Black people all over the South. What are you talking about? So when I did get here, I was like, oh, okay, got it. Yeah, it was one of those moments. And I remember my mom having to send me hair care products in the mail. But I'm a historian, so I started researching. And Black people have always been here in the Valley, from the Weber family to the Jackson family to Estebanito, who came in with the Spaniards. And so it's just that we have absorbed in the culture. And so you can look at my children. Shout out to my daughter's teacher back there. She did a great job. You can look at my children and not know that sometimes my daughter says, I have to pull out a picture to prove that I'm Black, a picture of my mom. And so that's just the way things are, and we are all melting pots around here, and we just don't realize it. So Village in the Valley, really quick, upcoming opportunity is that we are having a Juneteenth celebration in Mission. We move it around every year. We kick off Juneteenth in the Valley. So ours is on the June 14th, and then in Edinburgh, they're hosting a big Juneteenth festival on June 21st, and we do MLK activities throughout the Valley. They're simultaneously happening in Edinburgh, in Brownsville, sometimes in Far, but we make sure that we doing those activities. If you want to find out about them, you go to villageinthevalley.org.
Thank you. My name is Aleida Garcia. I'm the Cultural Arts Director for the City of San Benito, but I'm also an artist, and I'm on the board of the Texans for the Arts, which is an advocacy organization in Texas. I also would love to extend an invitation for your organization and yours as well to participate in some sort of programming in San Benito. What's kind of really great about the city of San Benito is that with a population of under 25,000, they actually have a cultural arts department, which is pretty amazing for the leaders of the city. And I'm actually a little line item next to like the police department and the fire department, so that's pretty fun. And I'm really grateful to be on this panel and to just be representing local Valley folks.
One more thing about San Benito. You have the only Black historical museum south of San Antonio, called the Calandret Museum. If you have not visited, I suggest that you do.
Thank you all. I've been so excited about this panel, and now I'm even more excited after hearing all the intros. We'll start off with a question for everybody. So the title of this panel is about belonging in the Rio Grande Valley. And I think everybody has a different definition about what belonging means. Some people are like, oh, it's about fitting in, and some people it's about standing out and still feeling like you belong, right? So I'd love to hear from each of you in your own words. What does belonging mean to you in the Rio Grande Valley?
Yeah, super good question. I think belonging for me is a sense of connection and community, regardless of where you are in the world. I've lived in many different places, the Valley being one of them, South Mississippi. I went to an HBCU and got my MBA there. I've lived in Washington, D.C., and Virginia, and then, of course, Seattle. I spent some time abroad in Thailand and Malaysia and whatnot. And so all of those different places as an outsider or foreigner can be a bit challenging. And so I've always challenged myself to create my own community and find them. And I think that is the most important thing when creating a sense of belonging is making human interactions and building connections that way.
I think the belonging is America is a land of immigrants, you know. So no matter which part you reside in, you immerse yourself, you learn about the culture that you are in, and also educate your roots and immerse others, hopefully educate them about your culture, you know. So that's what belonging is, learning about each other's and respecting each other's cultures and the roots that they come from. And there's so much to learn, you know. So that's what belonging is. The more you immerse yourself and open your minds and your hearts, the easier it gets. That's what I feel.
So for me, belonging is, I spent 20 years as a CEO of a Boys and Girls Club, and one of our core principles is providing the sense of belonging. And the one thing when that comes to mind is you want to be in a place where people know who you are, they know your name. Like that sense just starts with knowing my name and making people feel welcome. Every time I hear the word belonging, the cheers, I'm dating myself. The cheers theme, I want to go where everybody knows my name. That's what comes to my mind. And so that's what belonging means to me.
So yeah, echoing that sense of community and that sense of respect and openness and also being welcoming, that's pretty much what it means to me. As someone born in the RGV, and that idea of belonging is something that I've have like personally wrestled with, embraced, and explored throughout my life here in the border. Always it's always been like my creative grounding point. It informs my work and my research as an artist, but also in my professional path centers around building and supporting spaces where our stories can be told, like truthfully, with complexity, and in ways that reflect the richness of our culture. I've always felt that the arts are a powerful tool for connection and transformation, and in my current role today, I try to provide those spaces and being welcoming and providing that sense of, respect, having that community, that openness. I think those are key, important parts of the definition of belonging.
Thanks, y'all. And now we're gonna go into individual questions for each of you. And we're gonna start with Tony. And Tony, I hope you don't mind. I grabbed some photos from your Instagram about you and your sister, you and your sibling. The question for you, Tony, is looking at your website and your social media, and even being in this space, it's so clear how much your family and your personal story influence your work and show up in your work. And so from here in Moboba to RGV Asian Night Market. So can you talk about why this is important for you and how your family has inspired your work?
Yeah, family is central to everything that I do, and family has so many different translations or interpretations. It could be the community that you create. This is my family. The staff that I've hired and have brought up and mentored, that's my family. And then there's your immediate family, your siblings. And I try to incorporate that family, regardless of its meaning, into everything that I do because it's so core to who I am as a human being and the person that I try to be and continue to evolve as. And you can see it in all of the different elements of this space, from the images on the wall where we have who we've named Momo as our mascot, traveling to all of the different places that my sister and I have been to around the world. So right above Suzanne is an image of Momo in Thailand, where my wife and I spent 6 to 8 months early in our marriage. And then there's Daytona Beach, which is where my sister's from. She spends a lot of time um, on the beach, but currently resides in Florida. And then from the items on the shelves there, supporting Asian American artists and local valley artists with matcha bowls and whatnot. As a creative myself and my family is creative, we try to do and translate that into the work that is Moboba today. And then not just the space, but the events that we host. The RGV Asian Night Market was born out of a need for community. Me being of Lao and Thai descent, I couldn't just drive down the street and go to a Lao or Thai restaurant. And so in order to bring those flavors that I'm so familiar and in love with, I had to create it myself. And hence the RGV Asian Night Market. And another cool event that we do on a monthly basis is called the More Supper Club. And that is a communal meal where we sit down with 12 to 24 people and share a meal that I would have with my family. Candles and flowers, eating with our hands, and super funky flavors from fish sauce to shrimp paste. All of those things are embedded in that dinner, and those are the things that I would share with my family and that I want to share with the community here. We've extended the opportunity for other chefs and home cooks to participate in that event, and I think it's super special. And going back to the question earlier of what is belonging, it's that. It's being seen, it's being heard, it's having spaces in which you can share your vulnerability and your true identity. And that's, to me, what belonging feels like. And as an outsider or a transplant here in the Valley, which is semi-homogenous, and if you've ever lived somewhere else, it's really a challenge to find that community. Either people come to you, which oftentimes they don't, or you do it yourself. And so I've had to really step up to the challenge and create that, and I've seen so many beautiful things come out of it. And this partnership and this panel is born out of that, just like stepping up to the challenge and creating space.
And the next question is for Sabrina. So Viva worked with Mission CISD in 2023 through your Illumination project to guide students to eliminate prejudices and stereotypes. And your resources were shared with 14,000 students in Mission CISD. I'm from Mission, so I particularly love this project. But I know it was also born out of something really dark, right, that happened in the district. So can you tell us more about this project and other ways Viva is working with school districts to protect Black students?
A little history about the Illumination Project. Mission CISD was having some incidents, and the incidents were pretty severe. And so if you know the story of Emmett Till, not sure if you do, very briefly I'll share. So Emmett Till was like a 13-year-old who was from Chicago, went to Mississippi for a summer vacation, and wound up dead. A woman said that he looked at her or winked at her, and so they went into the home, pulled him out, beat him to death. And his mother, Mamie Till, instead of having a closed casket funeral, she had an open casket funeral, and that kind of helped spark the civil rights movement. Well, what happened in Mission is certain Black students were being bullied, and so they took those images of Emmett Till and they transposed the student's face, the Black student's face, onto those images. That was one incident. And then they also transposed the image of this child onto someone that was being lynched. That was one incident. And they used social media, and they posted this throughout social media. Well, the FBI got involved, because when you do that, that's, cyberbullying, that FBI gets involved. So Mission realized that they needed to respond. And so in their response, and mind you, we have been talking about the Illumination Project for a very long time before Mission approached us. But the original response that we would get was, that doesn't exist in the Valley. Like prejudice, it just doesn't exist, that it doesn't happen. this incident had to happen in order to get a response. And so we we went in and we did the illumination project, and we started off with the teachers, because oftentimes teachers don't know how to respond. My kids went to South Texas ISD, and I remember my daughter Destiny had a situation in the school, and I think somebody called her like a monkey or something, and she got very upset about it. And I went and had a conversation with the teacher, and of course, the teacher didn't know what to say, so she said nothing in the time that was happening, and I just was able to tell her that is a time that you pause and you do an education moment. And so at Mission, we were able to talk directly to the teachers, help them learn how to navigate those conversations as opposed to ignoring that it's happening. Because when you ignore it, you empower it more. Also, we talked to the parents. We had listening sessions with the parents because everything starts at home. And we not only listened to the teachers, the parents, we also met with the school administration, because sometimes administration is the hard subject. No one wants to deal with it. So how do they deal with it? And then we met with the students. And meeting with the students, we learned all kinds of things, right? But we also helped them navigate those things. We talked a lot about kindness. We talked a lot about cultural awareness, because this is what this program focuses on. It focuses on kindness, cultural awareness, appreciating diversity. I know now diversity seems to be the dirty D word, but it's a good thing. We all bring different thoughts. We all bring different opinions to the table, thoughts to the table. We all can look different, and it's okay. There is greatness in diversity. It makes us better. And so we talked about that, and this whole process accumulated with a week-long, like we call it Blue Ribbon Week, and every day we focus on just local Valley history and that Black experience and cultural experience in the Valley. And I will tell you, it was a great project. We were there for over 3 months with that school district, and the kids responded well. We have testimonial from them. Other districts have not been so receptive. I will say this, and a lot of times it has something to do with money, right? We got to pay for these things. But again, you go back to, oh, we don't have that problem here. It's an isolated incident. So I was at McAllen CISD just 4 months ago. It was a mixed race kid who was called the N-word, and mom was very upset about it, and she reached out to us. And she wanted to go before the school board, but she didn't want to go by herself. And so I went with her and stood by her side as she spoke what her kids were experiencing. And I know we've all seen the idea video, and if you haven't, that's probably good. It was very disturbing. But as you start seeing these things, especially on social media, you get a lot of people saying, oh, that happened to my kid. Or this is what the student said about my kid. And it's a lot of mixed race kids, and it's a lot of Black kids. So when I say Black, this is the other thing. I'll pass the mic, I promise. This is an education. This is education. I'm so excited about this because my background is poli-sci, undergrad in poli-sci in history, and then I have a master's in public administration. So I've been studying culture and the politics of culture for a long time. But here's the deal. When we think it's isolated and then people start saying, oh no, but this happened, or no, this happened, it's a systemic issue that we need to deal with. And it only gets worse if you don't deal with it and if you don't talk about it. And so I just really encourage people to have those open conversations and to connect with people like Tony said. You know, if you don't know something about a culture, then connect with that culture, right? And you will learn something about that culture. But I get excited, last thing, I get excited because it's funny because with Village in the Valley, when we developed our mission statement of uniting the Black community, we spent 2 hours talking about Is it African American or is it black? Which one? Even amongst us, it is a conversation. It took us 2 hours to say it's black, y'all. We have people from Nigeria. We have people from the Gambia here. We have Marsha, who's Canadian by way of Jamaican, who is black. And I'm just a little old girl from the South. Okay, so let's just say black because it's the whole black diaspora. But if that's the conversation for 2 hours amongst a room full of black people, can you imagine the conversations that we could all have collectively and be open to ask the questions in a respectful way? That is the problem. People don't want to talk about it because they're afraid to offend. But if you create a safe environment where we all know we're here to talk about this, then all discussions are on the table and it's okay. So I invite you to have those discussions. We can only clear up confusion when we talk about it. So.
Oh, thank you. I love that you said that because I think a lot of people, for fear of offending or fear of maybe showing ignorance, we retreat, right? And we'd rather not deal with it, and then we turn that into biases and blocks. And so I can relate to that. Like as a queer person, like people, they'd rather just not think about it, right? They'd rather just not ask, right? And I also had to learn the muscle to be open to people asking me something and then be like, okay, I understand. Because yeah, if between us, sometimes we're like, is it this word? Is it this word? How do we talk about ourselves? Other people, it's even more complicated. So I really appreciate that. The next question is for Kirti. So the India Association of the RGV has existed for 25 years. And you've served as president for the last 3, right? And when we last spoke, something that we really loved that you said is you described the Rio Grande Valley as a gem and a very welcoming place. Can you talk about your experience moving to the valley and how does IRGV help others who are moving here to feel connected and welcome?
Thank you. You know, I didn't even know what is the RGV. So we were in Michigan. I retired from Michigan State University, and I was like, okay, my mother wasn't well, so I was like, you know what? I'm done 25 years. Let me just spend time with my mother. I don't know how long she'll have, you know. And the day I announced it, shocked everybody, shocked my family, because I'm a workaholic by nature, even now when I don't do much, you know. So then my husband said, okay, I'll also retire, we'll go travel, do whatever. And the next thing I know is UTRGV called them and said, you know what, we need you to start the hospitality program. So then he goes, well, what do you think? I'm going to check out the RGV. And I'm like, what is RGV? And so my daughter goes the same thing. And he goes, yeah, we're going to go check out Edinburgh and McAllen, that area, you know. So I'm like, okay. My daughter goes, Dad, where are you taking Mom next to now, you know? She wants to be here in Michigan, you know. I mean, I'm Spartan, remember? Green and white. Everybody in our family are Spartans, you know. And now, of course, we are vaqueros too, you know. Happy family. I love it. So anyways, came here, and within no time, literally within few minutes, we talked to a few students, we talked to a few folks in the valley, and I turned around and I said, AJ, what are you thinking about? This is beautiful. I love this place. And what makes a place, you like a place is what? It's people, right? It's not your wealth, it's not the homes, it's the people that makes you feel at home. And that's, to this day, that's my genuine expression. And I say this all the time. You ask people, they'll hear the story, you know, because that's how, and our daughter felt the same way. So genuinely, this place is beautiful. It's a hidden gem. A lot of people don't even know, but now the gem is being exposed, and so many people are moving into the hidden gem, right? Which is amazing, from California and so many parts of the state are moving here because it is truly a very diverse. People don't even realize, they thought only Hispanics lived here. I'm like, no, 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 it's very diverse. It is amazing how diverse it is. This is one of the most diverse cities, states I've lived in, cities, I should say, the valley itself I've lived in. You know, Houston, Dallas is all very different. You know, I've lived in Houston a long time back. I've been here for a long, long time. My family came early immigrants. They were 1945, pre-India's independence. My father-in-law came. My family directly came in the 60s. So I've been here for long time, and they've seen so many changes too. The other thing, you know what, Tony, you talked about Daytona Beach. I see that picture over there, and you see that big tall hotel. That used to be the Marriott Daytona Beach. I used to be controller there. My only office, when I got hired, the GM said, you know what, you're the only person whose office faces the ocean. That was the best part, right? And it is a full circle, and our daughter was born in over there too. So I loved it, you know. And just the other day, I was talking to my husband about it, you know. Just loved it, loved it, loved it. So you brought back some beautiful memories for me, you know. But here, this valley is people who live sometimes don't even realize they're living in such a beautiful place. You know, I've lived in so many parts of United States, being a hospitality executive. We've traveled quite a bit because they move. The only way to progress is you move. You know, you be flexible, and you learn from every move you make. You only learn. You know, and I always tell people, love this place. You know, where you are, and show it off. You know, and I truly try to do that because it is the most. It's a hidden gem. You know, here even when we get Indian community folks, we've got doctors or professionals or students, whoever is coming into the valley. If they reach out to us, when they are reaching out to us too, you know, they'll say, "Hey, Kirti, I'm trying to move here, moving from so-and-so state. I have no idea about this place. Where could we reside? Where could we look for a home? Oh, can you connect me to, my field is this, can you connect me to so-and-so person who I can talk to within that area? You know, we've got kids this age, can you connect?" So we try and help them out and then say, you know what, you can call us anytime, or any of our board members, and also encourage them eventually when they move to become members, because when you become members of organizations which are part of your roots, you're also getting some networking going on. And, you know, and then you have like-minded people from that part. So India, if there is somebody from New Delhi, they can connect and say, hey, and then amazing how many other people that they know, you know. And that, all of a sudden you feel, oh, I am good in this place. You know, I feel I belong, as we say, you know. So that's what we try and do, and that is one of the reasons we've tried to even put certain things out, being very open. Even on our website, if you see, we are very open. Everything is there, you know. What you see, who you get, you know. And that's what we try and do, and it's we've got, and anytime new businesses, individuals are having new businesses within our membership or in our community, we'll say, you know what, send me information, and we'll put it out there. We've got Facebook, we've got our member association WhatsApp group, email group. We'll put it out there. The only way people will know about if you're teaching dance to the kids, or giving painting lessons, or you're opening a business, we can promote it for you. We can help let others know what's going on. So that's what our community also does, our organization does, you know. Again, check it out. You know, this land is a beautiful land. All I do want to say one last word is appreciate what we have. You know, we are so blessed. We're all God's children, and we all are. It doesn't matter, black, white, brown, pink, makes no difference. at the end of the day, we're all human beings, you know, so.
Thank you, Kirti. I really love hearing from you all who moved to the Valley talk so fondly of the region. It's something we hear often, and the folks that are from the Valley, you're gonna know, like, we grow up not liking the Valley, right? We're like, we wanna get out of here, right? That was my experience. It's not everyone's, but it's a lot of people's experience. And then what also tends to happen is you grow up and you then learn to appreciate the place. And so it feels extra affirming hearing it from you all, right, that moved here, because it is such a beautiful place and there's so much to appreciate and love here. So thank you for that. The next question is for Aleida. Aleida, you're an expert in the local art scene. You have like decades of experience, and I really admire your work. And I know something you frequently talk about is how people's identities here in the RGV are layered, right, or complex, especially because we live in the border. And so, as a cultural administrator, can you talk about your approach to curating art and physical spaces to help other people explore their identity?
Thank you, Danny, for that great question. As both an artist and as a cultural arts administration, I approach curating art, history, and also like physical spaces in the RGV with an understanding that this identity here is never one-dimensional. Living in a borderland means our stories are constantly layered. They're informed by our history, by our migration, tradition, resistance, and the lived spaces of multiple worlds all existing at once. That complexity is something that I not only recognize, but intentionally uplift through the spaces and exhibitions I help shape. When curating exhibitions and creating cultural programming to augment those exhibitions, I focus on building spaces that reflect the diversity of our voices, within our community and really honor those nuances that help make our region unique. It's about more than just showcasing artwork and historical artifacts, but it's about creating environments where people can see their realities, their aspirations, their struggles, and represented honestly and thoughtfully. Like, I believe that physical spaces, whether galleries, museums, or alternative venues, can act as mirrors, validating people's experiences, while also offering room for dialogue, for self-reflection, and even in some cases, healing. I also draw heavily from my own experience as a practicing artist. I understand firsthand, like, vulnerability, and the power that comes from sharing one's story through creative work. As a curator and administrator, I take that responsibility very, very seriously. I create platforms that allow artists, especially those from underrepresented backgrounds, to feel safe and to feel that sense of agency over how their work and their identities are represented. That means working collaboratively, listening deeply, and making intentional choices about interpretation, about context, and presentation. I'm also deeply aware that many in our community might not have the means to visit larger museums elsewhere, or may feel intimidated by traditional spaces. So at the San Benito Cultural Heritage Museum, and I also manage a cultural center as well, and I also help out the other nonprofits like the History and the Conjunto Museums. And I, so I help, we are intentional about breaking down those barriers, and we strive to create an environment that is welcoming, that is accessible, and representative of the socioeconomic diversity of our community. So whether someone is a first-time visitor or a lifelong supporter of the arts, I want them to feel that the spaces that I create belong to them, that their story has a place within the walls. Ultimately, my goal is to nurture spaces that encourage exploration rather than impose rigid narratives, like the spaces where the layered identities aren't something to be explained or resolved, but rather embraced and celebrated as a part of the richness of life along the border. In doing so, I hope that we're not only honoring our community's past and present, but also helping to imagine an inclusive future.
Awesome. I think we're at the part where we open it up to you all. Do you all have questions or commentary for our panelists?
I guess my question is more directed to Sabrina. As I'm married to a black man, I'm raising a biracial son. He's 3 years old, about to be 4, and there's no other black kids in his class. So I guess what would you recommend to bring more awareness or just being, to expose other parents or kids to other cultures? Because sometimes they're, not that they're trying to be mean, but they just don't know any better, you know? So even like with his hair, you know, like he looks more black than he looks Mexican. So if people are gonna judge him by his appearance, it's gonna be based off of a black little boy.
So that's a layered question. So this is what I would suggest, like the easiest, there's nothing easy, okay? Let me just start there. It's not gonna be easy, girl. But this is what I would suggest. First of all, community. So joining Village in the Valley. We have family events where we gather people together, right? Families. Actually, Viva started because of the founders had children in the schools who looked around and they did not see anybody else who looked like them. And so the children were asking questions. And so they wanted to create this space where families could come together, right? And we have that. So you can look on our website and we have different events, family events, and community events. That's one. Two is, this is very funny that you're asking this because yesterday my granddaughter came over. She calls me BB. And I have a chair in my living room. And on the chair, it has like Betsy Coleman and Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth and Ida B. Wells. They're all painted on this chair. Because I had to be very intentional about talking to my kids about different, I don't want to say historical figures, because my granddaughter didn't even know Tajanji, the Supreme Court judge. She's like, BB, they don't teach us that in school. I'm like, girl, that's in your lifetime. You got the internet. She's like 11. I'm like, that's your lifetime now. There's no reason why I have to explain that to you. And she's like, oh. So you have to teach them to do their own research. You have to talk to them about it. Your husband is black, right? So he ain't gonna teach them, okay? You're gonna have to teach them. And you're going to have to be intentional about it. And it's in the little things that you do. If you come to my house looks like an African museum. Yes, because I had to be intentional. My husband, I know more about Mexican-American history than he ever will know. He's gonna get after me when I get home. Because I wanted my children to know both sides, right? And I knew they lived in this culture, so they were gonna gain that. But they don't live where a lot of black people are. So my home became the education spot. So you walk into my home, I have like a South African print on there. I have the chair with all the people on there. I have statues. It's a museum. And I intentionally did that. And I also intentionally, and I'm looking at you because this is your responsibility, and you don't know this, and your husband ain't gonna help you. there are some things that I really wanted my kids to know. If you remember Arsenio Hall, that show, right? So he went around LA going, say it loud. Now, if I say it loud, do you know it? Do you know it? We're gonna finish off with, usually, we'll finish off with, I'm black and I'm proud, right? Because that was a James Brown song. And it was like all of these people didn't know this. And it's like something I grew up with. And then I was like, okay, I gotta teach my kids this. So I had to teach my kids all of those things. And now they're teaching their kids who look like Jackie over there. That's how they look. My grandkids look like Jackie. But if you go up to them and you say it loud, they're gonna say, I'm black and I'm proud. They know how to finish the sentence. So you have to teach them. Lean into his family to help you, but you have to teach him. And when that happens at school, you have to give him an identity that he is proud of. That is why I turned my house into a museum. Because if you look at TV or you look at social media, the identity that is described for Black people is not a positive one. And so you have to educate him on Ida B. Wells, on Betsy Coleman, on Mamie Till, on Sojourner Truth, on Harriet Tubman. You have to do that. Unfortunately, it is on your shoulder.
Hi, y'all. My name is Laura Sofia. I'm from Puerto Rico. And I moved to the Valley, this guy, San Antonio. And we lived in Edinburgh, so we moved to Edinburgh, and when living here, the reason I love the Valley is because it felt very much like Puerto Rico. There's a lot of similarities and surprises. Like, I love agriculture. I like seeing orange fields. I like seeing things grow. And I just wanted to ask you guys, is something that surprised you from the Valley that kind of reminded you of your own culture that you're kind of like every so often I'll be like, oh, those are plantains. Like, I have that back home. I can't believe they're growing here. That's super cool. So if there's anything like a fun that connected you to the Valley that surprised you.
You guys take that one. The food. I just when I first told my mom that I was dating a Mexican woman from the Valley, the first thing she said to me was, "Oh, our foods are the same." The ingredients like lime, citrus, peppers, we use all of the same ingredients. We just call it something else. So you got all the salsas. We have jail, which is sauce in my language, and the flavor profiles are very, very similar. So it wasn't a surprise to me, but it's very refreshing to fall into a brand new community and share that commonality. So the flavors that I was already used to, I could go to my local restaurant or grocery store and find. And to me, that is, it made the transition much, much easier for sure.
I think I would co-echo that. And mangoes. Oh my gosh. I love it. This lady in our community, somebody on our WhatsApp chat group said, oh, so-and-so is selling mangoes. And I'm like, wait a minute. How many in a case? She goes, 30. How much? $15. I'm like, good. Send me a case. And guess what? My husband finished half of it already within a day. I'm like, you know what? You're going to be sitting in that bogs for quite some time eating a lot of mangoes. So yeah, just this morning I was letting our family members in India know that, I send them a picture and they go, where did you get these? I was like, right here in the valley. So mangoes, and so many similarities. And the one thing I saw when I first went to the grocery stores, it's the family. The entire family goes together, which is so nice because even in India, when you go shopping, the whole jing bang goes, which is nice. And then we'll go out, shop, eat, and then come back really late, watch a movie. When we go to watch a movie, the entire row is filled with movie of our family members, so that's what I saw here is, it's a very family-oriented town, the valley itself, That's why in the restaurants, one of the things I see, the tables are big, They're laid out large tables. I mean, think of, I'm a hospitality background I have, and those are things I observe, What brings people together is the food and music, arts, entertainment. That's what brings people together. When you talk about food, nobody says I'm brown, white, yellow, green, nothing. It's everybody comes in and enjoys it. And that's how India is. Hospitality is big. In India, if you go, you could just, we used to take students who study abroad, my husband did. And one of the things, the students would come back, and Midwest kids, a lot of them had never been out of the Midwest area, when we resided in Michigan. And they didn't even know where they were going. We had to educate sometimes. The parents would not feel comfortable. Where are you taking them to Dubai? You're taking them to India. Where are they going? No, we're not comfortable. We would invite them, have them get to know us, the food, what to expect, what the cultures are going to be. But they would find that where is John? Oh, he's having a cup of tea with some local tea shop person, So even here, that's what I noticed. And the other thing I noticed, even like in Miami, when we lived, Cubans were very similar. It's a culture where, Cafe Cubano, and just go and have coffee and all. We're here, even now, when you go, you know what? This is so nice. So your salsa, the hot picante salsa, oh my gosh. So when I invite people to, it's so easy. It's like, okay, I know what I'm going to do now, Because it's a beautiful, beautiful.
So keeping it on the food line, I would say barbacoa is very much similar to roast beef, and I love it. I didn't know it came pre-cooked. When I first went to go shop for barbacoa, I went to 5 different locations and wound up at the McAllen grocery store on 23rd. But I kept asking everybody, no, I don't want it cooked. I want it raw. I wanted to cook it myself. And I realized, oh, that's at the McAllen grocery. Somebody pulled me to the side and said, no, this is how it comes. But it tastes just like roast beef. And the other one, which I don't eat, but my sister, when she came here, she said it was good, which was tripas. I don't do that, but so there's that.
So maybe as like a local, like born and raised Valleyite, I appreciate the diversity, and we are like kind of like self-proclaimed little foodies. My husband and I are always trying to find different places, different experiences. I guess whenever I was traveling abroad, I felt really at home. I had just lost my grandmother, and so I'm missing her like Mexican cooking. And I went into an Indian food restaurant because I just followed the smells, and I was so welcomed. And I was feeling a little homesick too, and grieving process. But that's one thing that food really kind of unites us. And then again with like all the different Asian foods. The different spices, and so I appreciate that, and I'm really glad that you guys are here and helping to promote all the different, just the different communities here in the Valley, and our diversity, so thank you.
And even the plants, a lot of the plants are very similar because the terrain is very similar, So I wanted to share that too. Mother Nature, right? I think we're hungry, are we? Yes, good thing we got a potluck right out there. But let's do maybe one more question.
Hi guys, thanks for being here. I just had a quick question. What do you think would be a message to the community, to the Valley people, because I feel like a handful of people from the Valley, they kind of stick to the norm. They don't really try different things. We're kind of like in a bubble. So, what's y'all's message of like what would be the importance of, you should try something different or you should do something out of the norm, out of the box?
So that's a great question. I think that I was an only child, single parent, so I lived a very kind of sheltered life. But as I got older, I was very curious. So I think that having that openness and then that curiosity to try out different things, and also, being right in that area where, you're not like super comfortable, you're kind of maybe not touching the bottom of the swimming pool a little bit. And so that kind of nervousness or that kind of like willing to kind of get out of that and try out new things. And it doesn't have to be like something completely the opposite or something completely like intimidating. Just like little baby steps trying to get to meeting different people, asking questions, or even just being curious and just being around the space. Like I'm a very, or at least I grew up being a very shy person and very nervous about talking to folks. And then I'm here. So, but it's just that openness and being able to just say, you know what, yeah, I am curious about this. And it's okay that I don't know. This is an opportunity to learn. So, and people are always going to be super patient and understanding, or you'll find people that will be, and that's okay. That's part of that journey.
And so for me, I always say step outside of your comfort zone because there's great learning outside of the comfort zone. But I also bring back my years of youth development, and we have to create opportunity for kids and youth to step outside of their comfort zone. And it doesn't have to be big. So for example, I worked with kids who were right here in Edinburgh who had never stepped foot on the UT RGV campus. That's an opportunity, and it's right there. And the more we get kids exposed to those types of opportunity, eating at a restaurant. I took a group of kids, and it was the first time they ate at a restaurant where they had napkins and forks. So we assume that people have these experiences, and they don't. And when you don't have those experiences as a child, and now you want me to leave the valley, that's a huge leap. And so we have to create experiences that we take for granted for youth because we're building that muscle of them stepping outside their comfort zone so that when it does come time, they have the ability to step out and the opportunity to step out. They have that courage to do that. Because again, as we all know, stepping outside of our comfort zone allows us to expand and to grow and to embrace differences and cultures and all those things. And so if you see a child, don't make the assumption that they, have done things or been places. Make the assumption that they have not, and whatever you can do to expose them to opportunities, make the choice to do that.
I would co-echo what my distinguished panel members here, guests have said. Our learning begins right from home, and home is where, it doesn't matter where, home is where the heart is, but when kids are little, I have only one child, I have a daughter, and as she was growing up, people thought we would spoil her to death, and we really did not, because she did not get what she wanted, really. She had to literally work hard for everything, even to this day, she's 32 or so. Even to this day, we say, you know what? No. And luckily, that's how she is that way, But growing up, we would always say that, Raji, have a diverse set of friends, So you're learning and appreciating and respecting all human beings, And she would come and she would actually then ask, she says, Mom, you met my so-and-so friend. You met so-and-so, what do you think? What do you think? Which was nice to see that she was actually having that open conversation with your kids is important. Whether your kids can even be your own siblings that are younger to you, or sometimes even older, Even our parents are learning sometimes through our eyes, That's what study abroads did where the parents learn from the eyes of the students, Through their experiences, they learned because they had never been out of their comfort zone, So the only way to know is swim, don't sink, and try out. That's what I would say. And when I worked even at the Michigan State University, my staff, when I went, they had not tried out Chinese food, Thai food, even Indian food. So I was like, guess what? Every Friday we are going to have a different treat, and it's going to be my treat, and we are going to order one of different cuisine, and you're going to all try it out. You don't like it, you don't have to force yourself to eat, but try it out. Open up your minds, And guess what? By the time I left, they loved all of the food, and then they were ordering it, and I was like, wait a minute, what just changed here? So that's how, because all our taste buds are so set in where we are, and that really helps us to experience all our senses, right? Through those tastes. So fabulous question. That was very nice because each of the questions that just got asked by you guys, it all ties in one word, community, right?
Awesome. I've got several. So I'll try to narrow it down as much as possible. The first, and I know none of you guys are guilty of this, but slow down. There are so many crazy drivers here. I can't tell you how many times I've been cut off by a big truck. We'll get there. The second is, and to follow the theme of just stepping outside of your comfort zone is, and something that I reinforce with my daughter who just turned 4, is you gotta try everything at least one time. The worst that could happen is you don't like it. It's just like shooting your shot. Wayne Gretzky, if anybody watches hockey, said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So just try it one time. Somebody says no, all good, keep it moving. You don't like the dish, all good. Your palate will refresh and cleanse itself. The third is support small businesses. If I recall, there is a statistic where more than 50% of the US economy is powered by small businesses. What I've noticed here in the Valley is that a lot of people tend to gravitate towards corporate brands because one, is familiar, there's credibility in it, but without the small businesses that power the Valley, there would be no Valley. So go to your local boba shop versus buying boba at Starbucks. Go to your favorite local coffee shop instead of going to Starbucks. Shop at a small retailer instead of Marshalls and TJ Maxx. This is how we keep money in the community and how the Valley continues to grow. Thank you for being here today in our small business and for your partnership. So that's my message.
Don't go to Starbucks, right? Well, thank you all so much. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your stories. We've tagged them all over social media. Please follow them, go to their events, support their businesses. They have events literally, collectively, you could probably every week go to an event just with these 4 panelists right here. I think what we'll do now is transition to our potluck. And so we might ask folks to move a bit. Do you want to share a bit on? Okay, perfect. And also, Moboba is open, so if y'all want to get some bubble tea, please